What's going on, everybody? It is rainy. It's got like that little like fall thing in the air. I don't know whenever this podcast is going to come out, but man, I'm a sucker for sweater weather. I'm a sucker for the pumpkin spice lattes. Just it is what it is, man. It is what it is. But I love this. Like if there was like a season award, fall would get my vote. Todd, what about you? What's your favorite season over in Texas, man?
Well,
What do you got?
I wish that we could have the same weather you're describing right now, but that will come in December, maybe. If we get sweater weather then. So I feel
Oh,
like I'm in a perpetual summer here with like a week of winter.
oh
Todd, where are
man.
you at?
I'm right outside of Houston, Texas, a little town called Brenham. If
Okay.
you're familiar with Bluebell ice cream, this is where it's made. So easiest town in America to get fat in.
Yeah, I like that. Eric, are you a fall friend? Are you a friend of fall?
Fall's fun. Yeah, Oktoberfest.
Yeah, I like.
That's it.
I
The
love it.
leaves, the
I
leaves changing, of course. It's
the
so pretty
leaves,
to see the leaves.
the foliage is
Right.
so beautiful in the Shenandoah. We're in Virginia, Todd. We got a lot of
I was
trees. We
gonna
got a
say
lot.
you get the pretty stuff. I don't get to see that. So
Anyway,
It-
I love this
I was
weather.
mocking there, but it is pretty up here.
I love it. Dr. Worship, we got Ted Nesloney on the Community Connection. And here's my connection because Todd doesn't know who the hell I am. Todd, I'm going to tell you my connection. That's the whole point of this show. I was on a stage years ago. Actually, I wasn't on the stage. I think I tripped on the stage, but Todd was on the stage. And I don't even, God, I wish I remember where we were. But Todd was speaking and he gave this like most vulnerable story about leadership or bad leadership and like what to do and what not to do. And I was like, this is when I think I was a principal and I was like, man, what an awesome storyteller. Because storytelling is the language of leadership. And Todd is blessed with that ability. And Todd, I was just like, I'm gonna meet this guy one day. So albeit it's virtual, but thank you for being on the Community Connection. How you doing?
hey,
What are you
I'll
doing?
take
Yeah,
it. I'll
take
take
it.
the connection. Whatever, however we can hang out and meet, I'm up for it.
However we can do it. You're an author. Amazing educator. You're probably doing some stuff now that's kind of like big picture stuff. So, Eric and I are a sucker for an origin story. So some folks might know you, some folks might not know you. Todd, tell us your origin story, man.
Yeah, so I have served in a ton of roles in education, from an instructional aide all the way up to a principal, and now as a director of culture and strategic leadership. Didn't ever grow up thinking I was going to be an educator. I've got multiple members of my family who are. I just knew I loved working with kids, and I originally kind of thought like, oh, social work. Like I really want to affect lives. Like I want to change lives. What work can I do that I know is having an impact? And I was really led to social work. And so I really started diving into that and figuring out if that was for me. And then I realized I can't separate myself emotionally from those stories.
Mm.
And that is not a career you will last in if you cannot build some walls to separate things out. So I thought, how else can I work with and impact kids? And it was like, well, duh, teaching impacts kids every day. And I never had a teacher that I remember impacting me or
Mm.
or changing the course of my life. And so when I thought about teaching, I was like, I want to be that teacher for those kids who aren't the really on one side of the spectrum or the other, but fall in the middle, where it's like I was quiet for the most part. I had A's and B's, so people kept off my back. My mom would have killed me if I got in trouble, so I stayed out of trouble. Like
Mm.
I was that kind of kid, which means I didn't really get a lot of attention or noticing in school, and I remember what that felt like. And so that was my biggest goal becoming a teacher is I want to make those kids who can easily feel invisible or easily be looked over as you're approaching the other issues. I want them to feel like they had somebody in their corner at least 1 year of their educational experience.
I love
Nathaniel,
it.
let me ask you a question, pal.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for
As
it.
a principal, I know the answer is you knew all your students, of course. But if you had to pick a group of students you knew better, would it be the students who were on honor roll, the students who were getting frequent discipline referrals, or students who were in neither of those categories? Rank them,
That's a great
rank how well
question.
you knew each of those groups.
Gee whiz, you're forcing me to rank? Oh my gosh, the pressure. I'm going to go at it with a different angle. And Todd, this may not be the right answer. Here,
Yeah.
here, here you go. I wasn't a kid person. As a principal, I love teachers. I
Yeah.
love staff. And hold on, and Like it doesn't mean I didn't resonate with kids. Like I, as a teacher, I loved it. I had that right. But like if I wanted, this is just bear with me here. Just bear with me. If I wanted, I loved kids, but I also knew that I couldn't do as a principal. I couldn't make a connection with all of my kids. I had 800, but I could really try to enhance the leadership and the teaching and the pedagogy capacity of my teachers so that they could do that. And if I loved kids, I would have like loved. I would have just stayed a third grade teacher.
Yeah.
But I loved impacting the lives of those kids. So that's kind of like not really answering your question, but it's kind of a bigger thing. And maybe Todd, we can kind of dive into that.
Yeah.
But if I am Dr. Worcester asking your questions, I like the troublemakers. I really like the troublemakers, right? Because I was a troublemaker. So we kind of like who we are sometimes, you know what I mean? So troublemakers, I really loved my students that were just like really, really bright and out there because they could have great conversations and they were like intriguing and they would challenge you and and then but I had to force myself a little bit to make sure that I knew the kids. But man, there were sometimes I would walk around like it would be 160 days in and I'd be like, "Who are you again? Like who are you?" And like I'm Steven. I've been here for like 6 years. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, Steven. Doesn't mean I didn't care, but I was a teacher first kind of
Yeah.
principal. So anyway, I don't know. What about you, Worcester? What about you?
I same thing. Like when people ask me, do I miss the kids? I say I miss my staff.
Yeah.
And I do, I do miss seeing kids and watching them grow and seeing that light bulb come on. But yeah, I miss my staff.
Yeah.
So, but
I run into kids. I run into kids that I was a principal all the time because I live in the same community, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. P, you were the greatest." I'm like, "I don't know you. I don't remember
is that what
you."
you say? But you say, man, you were great. I loved
I
having
do.
you.
I say you were the best
It's-
kid ever. Oh my
Yep.
gosh, what's
Now,
going
when
on?
I say that, I do always mean it because I do always know every child who went to my school over my 10 years as principal. So that's always
Well,
authentic. If
good
anybody's
for you.
watching,
Good for
always
you,
authentic. I know them all.
Todd.
But if there's a
This
group,
isn't it. This is an interesting question, though, right? This is an interesting because you are a principal as well. Kid centric, teacher centric. Like what? There's so many roles. Like sometimes it can
Yeah.
get a little lost. I don't know. And and you're big on culture, right? So
Yep.
I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Well, okay, so I'll take it from this way. When I was in the classroom, I loved the really difficult kids because my personality is that personality of tell me I can't, and
Oh
I
yeah,
can't wait to prove you wrong. And
yeah.
so for me, it was as a teacher, it was always like, tell me the kids that y'all say can't do something and watch me get it out of them.
Hmm.
And I loved that kind of challenge and connecting with them. And so that's kind of what my precipice for becoming an administrator was. I was like, I don't really care about the adults. I just love working with kids. And as an administrator, I can work with even more. And then I became an administrator and I was like, dang, this is fun working with adults. Like
Sure.
it's just a brain shift of they're just big kids. And when I viewed it that way, I fell in love with working with adults and kids, but in different ways. And so that wasn't something I was expecting when I became an administrator. I knew I'd be working with the whole team and everything like that, but I didn't realize how much I was going to love working with adults. Now, I will say, working with adults, I loved a challenging adult, but I also just really loved working with the adults who I was like rocking it out. I'm like,
Oh
can I
yeah,
come learn from you? Like,
yeah,
God, I wish I would have had you down the hall for me when I was teaching. I could have got so much. But as far as with the kids, I mean, Nathaniel, I get what you're saying. I had eight
yeah,
kids at my school too. Like, it was such a struggle.
yeah.
And then with kids always coming in and going out and all these things, and I wanted to remember all their names. But because I dealt with a lot of discipline, I spent more time with the kids who made those kind of choices. But I made it a very consistent project of mine to don't just focus on those. Like
Yeah.
find the middle and find the high. Like find time to spend times, whether that's going out at lunch, playing at recess. Like who have I not seen often? Okay, I'm gonna go spend time with that classroom because I don't know like 8 kids in that classroom, so I need to go spend like 20 minutes in there just hanging out with them, doing a lesson, whatever. So I
Yeah.
was really trying to be cognizant of that. I definitely was not perfect. And I look back now going, God, after talking to hundreds of thousands of administrators and educators now with what I do, I'm like, I could have been so much better if I were to go back now because I've learned so much more.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I have this is just me. So principals listening, just this is my editorial opinion, right? But like I hated morning bus duty.
Oh, I love
Oh,
it.
okay, okay, I get it. I get it. I hated it because like I'm the highest paid valet person right now, right? If I'm opening up doors, right? I could be researching, I could be looking at data, I could be being an instructional leader, I could be doing all those things. So like I know principals, that's how they make their connection, right? It's like
Yeah.
morning arrival, cafeteria duty, and they're seeing all the kids. I had a mentor that was like all about that. But like for me, like trying to like figure out like how can I be the best instructional leader I can be? I don't know if opening doors in the morning 5 days a week is going to do that. Doesn't mean it's not important. I'll do it. Like Mondays, I try to do it, maybe Fridays, kind of do some things, but like I got to focus on instructional leadership. And we just had Rudy Cafelli on. We were talking about instructional leadership. So like this is going to the question, and Worcester, I'm curious how you can answer this as well. Like we talk so much about culture, and sometimes culture gets on like kids and like rah rah and like we're gonna be relentless and we're gonna do all this stuff and we're gonna love kids. We do this, but we got a bottom line of instruction, like, and sometimes like the affective part of building like a happy welcoming place gets lost in like, well, we still got to teach kids at high levels. So Worcester, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Todd, I'm curious what your thoughts on that. Let's figure this one out.
Todd, go ahead, start and talk about because you had a very enthusiastic response to the bus.
So I love bus duty. I love car duty. I bring out a big old speaker, jam music. Music is my thing. If I wasn't in education, I'd be doing something on like
Like a
radio,
DJ or
whatever. I
yeah,
love
right.
music. So I love getting to share that love with people and just welcoming them in, starting the day like that. But what I say to people who have these conversations is I think you gotta go where your strengths are. And I think that if you build the right team, you are surrounding yourself with your weaknesses. And so what I mean is like if I know I hate the morning duty, I hate this or that, it's like I'm gonna make sure there's somebody on my team who like that is their jam
Yeah.
because they are going to do it 100 times better than I do. It doesn't mean I don't ever join them. Like you said, I'll go out there. It doesn't mean I don't do it, but I know to put the person at the forefront of that who is going to knock it out of the park. And it doesn't have to be me even though I'm the head of the campus. Like, I
Hmm.
think we have to get over that mindset of because I'm the administrator, I have to do it all great. It's like, no, I've got to organize it all and put the right people in the right place to make sure we fix the things we need to fix and be the best we can be. And I have to be able to be okay knowing that I'm not the one who always is the right answer for that.
Yeah, I can't hold the stop sign. I don't know, like I'll drop it, and I don't look good in orange. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. What about you, Dr. Worcester? What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't love car duty. Like I don't like opening the car doors. It just feels intrusive to me. I don't love that stuff. But I did think, and I didn't love it, but I did think it was an important part of my position as the figurehead of a school to be omnipresent during arrival and dismissal as much as I could. So I was usually in the building, but it was great for me. I usually have a teacher there with me. It was a chance for me to connect with that teacher who was with me and connect with all the kids coming in the building. So I thought it was really important. Something that I didn't, again, I didn't love it, but I thought it was important for me to do that.
Yeah, especially on rainy days. I'm not gonna do it. Todd, let's talk about like because a lot of times like the principal is kind of like the culture keeper of the school. Like everything rises and falls with leadership and we talk about culture so much about what that means. So like if you were talking to a bunch of novice or aspiring principals, right? And they got Todd on that stage to talk about culture. What would you talk about, man? Because this is kind of like your world right now. Like, right? You're you're
Yeah, I
you're the
mean,
culture director, right?
this is what I'm so passionate about this work because I've seen how it can change a campus. And I think the biggest thing I try to let administrators know, whether they are veteran or novice, it's that yes, you are leading that culture, but you are not solely responsible for the culture. And until you can get your team to understand that every single one of us plays a role, culture's not going to change, or at least not past the week. Because if I'm afraid to be out as the administrator because things are going to fall apart, I don't have good culture. I don't care if
Mm.
everybody's smiling or showing up. I should be able to break a leg and be out for a week and a half and everything still runs. Everybody's showing up and as best they can to give what they need. And so for me, it's that understanding because when I work with teachers too, I always talk about, if our cafeteria staff doesn't show up, our school doesn't run the same. Like
Yeah.
if our maintenance crew doesn't show up, if our custodians, like if our nurse doesn't, like those things matter. And we have to see each of those roles as an important part of making the school successful. And when you are leading a campus and you're pouring into them, and I do the teacher appreciation, Todd, I do the holidays, I bring them all this stuff, I cover their rooms, I do this, and it's like, yeah, you're doing all of it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how you burn out faster than anything else. Because as humans, we all have our super ungrateful days. And as an administrator, you see more ungrateful than anybody else on that campus.
Mm.
And I remember pouring into my people my first year, learning these lessons really the hard way, because that's the best way to learn, and
Yeah.
thinking, God, I'm giving y'all everything. Like, I'm buying all this stuff out of my own pocket. Like, I'm not even using school money, and I'm covering your classes, and I'm like burning my candle at both ends to make this work. And then somebody still comes in, and they're complaining about like why the popcorn wasn't cheddar flavored. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right
Yeah,
now?
wrong flavors,
You
big deal.
gotta have the caramel. Is it
Gotta
caramel?
have
Exactly. And I was like,
thank
what
you
the
for being
heck?
caramel. Thank you
Yeah,
for the A in the middle.
kettle
Hey,
corn flavored, Todd. It's the kettle corn flavor. That's what you gotta. That's
Todd,
what.
one trait you mentioned, and when you were talking about like what a principal does for their school, a trait you mentioned is authenticity. And
Yeah.
I think maybe not as APs, maybe you were as Daniel. It's hard to be completely yourself as an AP, but I think both you and I were pretty authentic with who we were as leaders. I
Yeah.
think sometimes you have that challenge of leaders thinking they're supposed to do that Super Bowl Sunday celebration in February because the script says that's what teachers want versus just being true to themselves. It's just people can see through BS pretty clearly. And when you're projecting something that's not who you are, I think people see through that. Can you talk about authenticity and the importance that has in being an effective leader?
And I love that you bring that up, because you both know, and anybody listening that's in the trenches right now knows, this job is no joke. Like,
Yeah.
it is exhausting. Being someone you're not is making it doubly the hard work. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's not an aspect of my team becomes my therapist. That's not what I mean when I'm saying be authentic, be vulnerable. Like, that's not you shouldn't be in there crying every day in front of your people. Like, there are lines to this vulnerable, authentic life, but at the same time, an authentic leader, and what I tried and aspired to be, was someone who owned my mistakes. The moment I messed up, I let my team know I screwed up. I made the wrong call. I'm sorry. I hear you. I'm going to fix this. And I need you to continue to give me that feedback. Or to say, you know what, I have had a bad day. Like, it's nothing with you guys. I didn't handle that well. Like, all those kind of things are part of being that authentic self. But I think you also, Eric, brought up something really great about how just because you see somebody else do something, like you said, a Super Bowl theme in February, it doesn't mean, like, for me, I don't care about football. Like, I love the Super Bowl because of the halftime show, but like, I don't care about any of that. And doing that Super Bowl theme is not going to be, I'm not going to do it well. I'm not
Yeah.
going to enjoy it. And everybody's going to know, no matter how great of an actor you are. Like,
Yep.
let me take and run with like a Super Mario Brother theme, or let me go and run with some kind of literacy thing about these kids books I'm obsessed with. Like, whatever it is, like, I'm going to run with what I love because that's what I did in the classroom. And
Yeah.
so I think that authentic self is, let your passions and your joys and your struggles become part of who you are and what you do. And all that does is endear you more towards your people, because it's really easy for a teacher to watch an administrator who never fails and always looks like they have it together, and that teacher to sit there and go, I can't be late. I can't mess
Mm.
up. I can't
Yep.
do that. I can't step out on that limb because they never mess up and they're going to come at me, even though that doesn't even match that person's personality. Like, they're never going to come at you. But that's what that thinking is they never mess up. I can't mess up either.
Todd, I love that leadership move because I tried to model that, and I still do try to model that. We had a conference recently, and somebody on our team wanted to do things a certain way. I was against it. We did it that way, and it was fantastic. So in
Yeah.
front of a lot of people, I commended that action, and I said I did not want that. Like,
Yep.
I was against this. I was wrong. Great job for going against what I thought was best and doing it and having it work. I think that is important for people to know
I
when you're wrong
agree.
and call it out and admit it for yourself. And I think it inspires those who you're elevating, even when it wasn't your opinion. I think that helps build a positive community.
Yeah.
Nathaniel?
Yeah. I don't like the word vulnerability. Like, the word's a little cringy to me. I don't know. Like, we talk about that, and listen, I get it. Like, the best leaders I think are the most vulnerable. But I don't know. I don't like the word vulnerable. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was like a Simon Sinek, conversation. But I was like, he was talking about this, and I was like, oh yeah, I agree with this. But like he said, he talked about not being vulnerable, but being available. And I
Mm,
like that. And, it's like
mhm.
anything that cat says. I mean, he probably has a team of
Of
writers
course.
that write all this stuff. But it's just like, oh yeah, if he says this is great. But like I think leaders, I agree with him. Leaders should be available
Mhm,
for learning. And
mhm.
I think that if a leader knows that like I am coming with my most authentic self and I'm aware of my blind spots and I'm aware of my bright spots,
Yeah.
and like your bright spots are probably what got you to the job, but the acknowledgement of your blind spots is what's going to make you a better leader. So being available for learning and having those types of conversations and modeling that for your staff goes a long way. And going back to the authentic thing, listen, like we all can't be freaking Ron Clark, okay? Like I mean, like, look, I got it. He's cornered the market on, personality, and he's jumping on tables and he's dancing the PEMDAS dance and he's got a whole thing. That ain't me. I ain't no freaking Ron Clark. I ain't jumping on no tables. I ain't, I'm not gonna get a PLC tattoo on my face. I might. I don't know. I'm a big. I'm just gonna come in and be me, right? I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna focus on instructional leadership, and we're gonna do that. But principals all work for someone. Like we don't work for ourselves, right? We're not like little archipelagos. Like we all have superintendents, we all have district superintendents, we all have managers and everything. And especially working in public schools or even charter schools, there's something that we're not independent contractors, right? We all
Right.
we all have a boss, and we all have to kind of like comport ourselves with such. But probably being a principal gives you the most flexibility in the school system because you're kind of like the mayor of your own little town, so to speak.
But you got a lot of bosses out there, Nathaniel. I just think of all the families I had when I was a principal, and
Oh
like
yeah, of course. I mean,
I
Jeff
got
Bezos
along.
has bosses, right? I mean, we're like, yeah, we're like CEOs. We've got stakeholders that are all of our bosses, but like being your authentic self, you're so right that it takes a lot of pressure off of you, right? Because if you're trying to be something for everyone, when you come home, you ain't got nothing left for anybody else, and that's when
Well, and the
problems
other thing
happen.
is too, when you're faking it and you think you're doing a great job, and then they see the truth, then getting their trust back is so hard because they're like,
Yeah,
"Dang, you had me fooled for like a full year, and now
yeah,
I know the truth. Like, what can I trust about you?"
I
That
love
sounds
it.
like a difficult conversation. And Todd, I think you just put out a blog post on difficult conversations, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've been doing a lot of work on that over the last couple of years.
Let's do
How,
it. Let's have a difficult
how do we
conversation.
how do we do that? How do we make that go easier? And asking for a friend.
Well, I sucked at this as a school leader. Like, I think this is one of those things, and I say it all the time. It's people think that when you get into as an adulthood, like, oh, everybody knows how to have hard conversations. And then I thought, well, yeah, I could with kids, but then I became an administrator and it was like having hard conversations with adults, like they're psycho. Like this is hard work. And so I was like, who's gonna train me on this? And everybody's like, well, we don't really have anybody that trains anybody on that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know how to do this well. I'm working with adults with all these issues and things, and I'm not handling my emotions well in the conversation either. And so when I learned that there wasn't really a lot of stuff out there for that, I went and did my work for a couple of years and talking to
Mm,
CEOs and education leaders and all these people who were successful and saying, "How are you doing this? Like, what do you do?" Because I'm a super empathetic person. I'm very passionate. I'm very emotional, and those are not good qualities for having
true.
not having natural difficult conversations. And so I think that that's why I've really spent a lot of time figuring out what are like the main things that I can try to do to really be successful because we all have to have them.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this conversation because you don't learn this in principal school. You don't learn how to have these kind of like very, very powerful conversations. And usually it's hard. Like I've had to terminate people both at a principal level, a superintendent level, and like you have to do that. And here's what I've learned. I don't know, this could be right, this could be wrong. Todd, you've talked to people, but I didn't like calling people out. Like if I have to call you out, I have failed as a leader. And I have an extreme ownership kind of like ethos about me. So if I don't want to, if Todd is not comporting himself, then if I want to call you back in to what you signed up on. So I don't like calling people out. I want to call you in. And here's where a lot of leaders make the mistake. They don't know what it is to call people back into. They don't
Mm,
know their vision and mission. They're
mhm,
just on autopilot, right? They don't know what the big purpose is. And so like if I don't have a strong understanding of the purpose of our school, it is going to be really hard to call someone out when they're not comporting themselves. If I don't have clear collective commitments that we've agreed on as a staff about how we're supposed to comport ourselves, our cultural norms, our covenant of understanding about what it means that all kids are going to learn the high levels, and you're being disgruntled and you're denigrating kids and you're talking bad about employees and all this stuff and you're disparaging your stakeholders and I don't have that codified, then it's going to be uncomfortable.
mhm.
So I go back to I encourage leaders. For me, it's like if it's uncomfortable, it's because you're not comfortable with what your purpose is as a school leader.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric. What do you
Those
think?
are about the clear roles. Like we've said before, I think clarity in leadership is very important to know what kind of building you're joining. But first, that principal has to have that vision and clarity themselves. Just a classroom teacher, when they are creating procedures or they want a classroom to run effectively, they have to know themselves what that should look like. And we don't always because we haven't had to create those things. Like you said, Nathaniel, you learn a lot in principal school, but there's so many things that you don't learn. And I think you can hear in a class about having a clear vision and what that looks like to your teachers, but until you're doing it, it's really hard.
I agree. And and I think about this whole idea of in the end we're working with people and people are unpredictable and life happens and life changes people. And I think sometimes that's hard when we're working with adults because we think, you know how to behave. Like you know the expectations, like you've been through this. And then you get in those hard conversations and you realize they just lost somebody they loved and
Oh,
nobody knew
sure.
about it. And that has
Yeah.
completely changed the way they communicate, they believe, they think, and you've got to now deal with a totally different person. And at the same time, too, I think one of the things that I really focus on with this idea of how to have successful, difficult conversations as a school leader is especially the idea of you are not paid to get screamed at.
Mm.
And I have met, and I was of the belief too at one point, I've met countless administrators who have said, well, yeah, I mean, they wouldn't stop screaming. They were cussing me out. They were calling these names. They were threatening. And I said, you know what? I said, my assistant superintendent gave me fantastic advice that I live by. And I said, she said, you're not hired to get screamed at. Nowhere in your
Mhm.
contract does it say you must get berated by the person in front of you. She said, you are the leader. And you know what a leader does? They end the conversation when it's not productive. And she
Mhm.
said, so when you are in those hard talks and the person across the table from you cannot control their emotions and it becomes a screaming thing or calling names or making up stories, you just look at them in a completely calm voice and say, you know what? I will not be talked to that way.
Mhm.
And we can finish this conversation tomorrow or another time when we're both at a better level right now. And you
Yeah.
get up and you leave. She said, you don't sit there and argue with them. Nope. It is your conversation. You own it, you lead it, and you end it when it is clear that they are not being respectful because that is part of you're never going to get through to them while they're screaming across the table at you. And when
Yeah.
I was told that, oh, that was so freeing to me because
And it like makes sense. It's
I
like,
thought no,
really?
like I gotta like that's the parent or that's the teacher. Like I gotta sit here and take it. I got hired for this job, and she's like, no, you didn't. Like who told you that? I'm like, nobody told me that. I just thought that I had to.
I love it.
Nathaniel, you
There.
get screamed at?
Oh, all the times. I mean, I was a superintendent during the pandemic.
Ooh, ooh.
I mean, I've got. I mean, I mean, like people were just bonkers, I mean, and like wanting virtual or wanting the hybrid or like, you name it, and it's just like, and you sit there, but it's just like, listen, I'm a professional. I don't make it personal. I don't take it personal. Right? It's just I'm gonna let persons do what they get. And sometimes it'd be like, hey ma'am, I gotta go. I just hang up the phone, and then whatever you gotta do. But I learned that like this might sound simplistic, but people get like second order change, those types of big things, and like when people are not at their best, like how a leader supports those folks does speak well to the culture, and I think that like you really do have to love people into the profession,
Yeah,
and then when it's time to go, you have to love them out of the profession.
yeah.
And like when I had employees that were at not at their personal best for whatever reason, right? And life happens. A lot of times, you're right. Things outside the building have more impact than we think about when have been inside the building. It's like there's three things, right? One, it's fear. It could be fear. They're afraid of something, right? So people will retaliate when they're feel like they're back into a corner. So there's a fear mentality when it comes to when you have someone who's kind of like not their best self. And it's there's what is it, cortisol and all kinds of stuff in your brain that's going on, and so people will are not themselves because they're afraid. The other thing, Todd, is that they're tired, fatigue, right? They're just tired of initiative after initiative, and they want to do a good job. But once again, cultures are like just like hope and spray, and like we just keep dumping on teachers and dumping on teachers and dumping on teachers, and they can be at their wits end, and they're just tired. And so like, how can I do something when I'm so tired of trying to, because I want to do a good job, but it's this infinite whack-a-mole. And then the third thing that I reflect on is their foundations. Some people just foundationally don't believe in whatever
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
school culture is. And I go back, Eric, to something that you said, like, if I was hired not having to collaborate with my grade level team, and I was hired under the idea that I could be an independent contractor, and I'm a middle school teacher, and I don't have to collaborate with anyone. That's a foundation that I signed up for. But if I got new principal Todd coming in, and Todd says, "Look, we're going to grow as a professional learning community, and we're going to be collaborating," and now all of a sudden that teacher who wasn't supposed to collaborate now has to collaborate with her. That foundation is cracked.
Yeah.
And so what they were hired to do is not who they are now, and that's when you get those outlaws that I always say that you got four types of people in your building. You got pioneers, your new teachers that are great. They'll do anything that you say. You've got your trailblazers who are even better. Like they're the people that are your leaders all over the place. They'll do whatever. And then you've got settlers who are just kind of like there, kind of waiting you out. And then you got outlaws that are like, to hell with you. I ain't doing anything like this, right? So fear, fatigue, and foundations, I think, is a natural kind of thing that leaders are going to have to understand when they're calling people back in to what we signed up for. And even if you didn't sign up for collaborating or whatever that is, as a leader, I've got to lead you to an understanding of why this is best for our profession, why this is best for our kids, why this is best for you, and that.
That's where leadership comes in. It's so easy. It's easy to go to a school with the people who already agree with you.
Yep.
Sure.
That challenge lies, right? In going there with that teacher who was hired under one way, with one way of working, and leading them to understand how this way can also have merit and can help you be better. That's what a leader does.
That's leadership, man.
Todd?
That's leadership.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think all of you just hit the nail on the head perfectly. I mean, it's just, this is hard work. I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge that if you're listening now and thinking, man, how am I supposed to, like, this is, I love this. I get it. Where do I begin? It's like, it's a lot of work. Like, you just take it piece by piece. It's the whole idea of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so I think that if you're listening feeling like you're not doing well at this, know that you're not alone. And that's part of jumping into these leadership roles, is figuring out where your weaknesses are and then saying, okay, I'm ready to grow in that area.
Todd, in your conversation, I love the fact that you stepped outside the education box to interview CEOs and some C-suite people and to try to figure out what were some of those lessons that you gleaned from that.
I think some of the biggest things was that there really aren't a lot of differences when you're thinking about some of the conversations we have to have with educators as the administrator. A lot of these CEOs or leaders of companies or small businesses or anything like that, they're dealing with the same kind of issues.
Absolutely.
Somebody who didn't adhere to some standards that were set, somebody who isn't meeting deadlines, whatever it is. And it just comes back to, and I think you made a great point of this earlier, Nathaniel, when you said, you've got to clearly set the vision, the mission, but I think you've got to clearly set the expectations. A lot of the times people are not meeting expectations because they don't clearly understand the expectations, or we use buzzwords that are really big. They're like, oh, everybody gets this. And it's like, no, never does everybody in the room define a buzzword the same.
Thank you, Todd.
Everybody brings a different definition. And when we believe that, oh, everybody knows what fidelity means or something like that, that's when we're losing people. And so I think that's important. And also understanding something else that was mentioned earlier was getting people to understand what they fell in love with to begin with, but also getting people to understand when it's time to move on.
Mhm.
And we don't like to talk about that and to hear that. But there are times where we have to have that conversation that this just isn't the place for you anymore.
Yeah.
Either education as a whole or this school. Like, if you can't do what we've set as the basic standard for this team, then this just isn't the place for you. And it doesn't have to be a super personal thing. It's just like we need people who are aligned, not people who are all yes men. Nobody, you never want that. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to have those moments where you go, you know what? I've got to let this person know this isn't where they're meant to be.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I used to say that people, when I had to have those hard conversations, I would told them, I want you to be so freaking successful.
Yeah,
mm,
On one hand, I wanted you to be really successful with me, and I tried really, really hard for that for us at the school. But it looks like you're miscast, and I'm going to call you back in to our vision and mission. Says da 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 da, and I just feel like it's not operating. We're not on the same wavelength. So I need you to help me. I'm available. I want to set you up for success.
yeah,
So what do I need to do so that you can be so successful in another environment, whether that's in a school environment or
yeah,
in a corporate environment? I just want you to be successful. And that's why you can't take it or make it personal. And I think as long as we continue to support people, like we love people when they come in, right? We love them when they come in, but we don't keep people. Like leaders lease. Like
yeah,
we lease our office, we lease our coffee cups, we lease our building. We're just leasing. It's not our school. So we're also leasing the staff that we have, and we are going to lose. That's the only thing sure in life that we're going to lose, right? And so we're going to lose staff. We're going to lose people. And I hate it. I hate it when I hear principals disparage their teachers so bad, so bad. Because like you loved them
yeah.
in the summer when you hired them. What happened? Like they, like what happened? And I just think we need to get back to being available to learn about our people. And that's where I think that's where some of those mistakes happen.
Daniel, I appreciate what you just said because I agree, as you know, that for principals to go in and say like, this is my school. It's not.
It's not your school.
It is not your school. Anyway, a left turn of a question here, Todd, and you can explain the question and then give your answer. The question is Spruce or Lucy?
Definitely Spruce.
Okay, and
So
explain.
So
Make
I
it
have a children's
question.
book called Spruce and Lucy. It's so funny to ever use the word author with my name still feels
Mm,
completely awkward. I never viewed myself as an author or somebody who would put my writing out there publicly. And even when I was a teacher, the only writing I did was I did a blog and I did it for myself just to
mm.
document what I was doing as like a better form of a lesson plan. And kind of when I looked back the next year, and then as people started to find it and things, I was like, wait, people like what I have to write? And then I was like, this is weird. And I remember in college, my professor, I was in a big class at Texas A&M, and one of the tasks was, oh, everybody here is going to write a children's book. They're going to illustrate themselves. We're going to share it as a class, and we're all going to learn through this process. And then we're going to vote as a group, and the best one, the teacher's going to help get it copywritten.
Wow, that's cool.
And so I won, and I was like, what the heck? Like, people actually like this crazy story that I came up with. And she helped me get it copywritten, and I put it in a shelf, hid it away. Was like, I ain't sharing this with anybody else. Like,
Yeah.
and then my wife found it a few years after that. And then she shared it with one of my friends, and they were like, no, we got it. Like, we like this story. Like, you should do something with it. And so it's a story for me that it's part of my whole belief system. And it's about a little tree named Spruce who never grows up to be like all the other trees. He's got all these trees who have all these great jobs, provide shade, food for animals, like they're all
Mm,
huge and big, and he's always been this little bitty tree. And so he starts to wonder, like, what's my purpose? Like, I'm so different, I don't fit in anywhere. And then one day he finds a little ant having shade under one of his leaves who has got separated from her colony.
mm,
And he speaks to her, and she freaks out because no tree has ever spoken to her. She's tiny, but he's small too. And they build this friendship. And through this friendship, she helps him see that his purpose might have just been to provide enough shade for her to give her space when she needed it. And it was kind of one of those stories that I wanted to be out there for kids who are sitting there going, I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what I bring to the table. I don't know when I see everybody around me or my family has all these credentials and I don't feel like I measure up. What am I good for? And I wanted that story out there that is that anchor piece to say you have worth, you have value, and though you may not see it yet, somebody is hopefully going to come into your life and shine that spotlight to tell you this is the reason why you are where you're meant to be.
Todd, I love it. Hey, Nathaniel, would you ever write a kid's book?
I did.
What do you think?
I did write a kid's book.
Show it.
Where was it?
You better have it on hand. I don't
I
think we've
know.
ever talked about this.
I don't think we've ever talked about it because I'm modest about it. Children's books, it's hard. That's a hard industry to get
Yeah.
into. Gee
Yeah.
whiz. I got one called Pablo's Big Dream, and it's about three cats that, and it's a children's story, but it's actually for adults. Because I was like, I do so much work with professional learning community concepts. So it's like, I'm going to do a metaphor about school professional learning community collaboration and all the ins and outs that go into to PLC work. But I wanted it so like if a kid can understand it, our adults can understand it. So
I
it's called
love that.
Pablo's Big Dream, and there's three cats, Pablo, Lizzie, and Cody, PLC, and they got a little jungle adventure that they got to do. My wife's from Brazil, so I wanted to write something that was like Amazon inspired. So it's
That's
on
awesome.
Amazon. I think I've sold 5 books, but it's there, right?
That's right. That's
Let's
right.
make it six. Let's make it six.
Makes it
Nathaniel?
6 books.
Before I do my couple of wrap-up questions, do you have any last questions for Todd?
Todd, the first time after I saw you on stage, I kind of knew you as Tech Ninja Todd. So I would, like, do you still go by that moniker? Like, let's just unpack that technique because that's a pretty sweet label.
So when I was getting started on social media, I mean, I was in Facebook when you had to have a college email to get a Facebook account. And then Twitter came around and I was like, never, I don't care about that. My superintendent at the time was like, no, you're doing good work. I need you on there showing what we're doing in our district. So I was like, well, what the heck? What moniker am I going to come up with? And I was like, well, I love using technology in the classroom. I want it to be like this really catchy thing. So I was like, oh, Tech Ninja. I was like, who's ever going to see it anyway?
Yeah.
And then the teacher Twitter world at that time was huge.
Yeah.
And so when I would go to events, I'd be able to connect with other people. It was such a great experience. But then also like some of my friends thought it would be funny to like make like a spoof account or a Todd Nesloney account. And guess what? When you do that, they take your name and I can never have it again. So, though I'd like to be just Todd Nesloney on social media, my dang crazy friends stole those names years ago to make funny stuff. So now I'm stuck with Tech Ninja, even though I still love technology. I can't fix your computer, but I can share with you some great tech tools. So
I can do Control Alt Delete all day.
I can unplug it.
I can unplug it and shut the screen and close it up a little bit.
Todd, that's a great lead-in for where can listeners find your books, resources, or connect with you.
Yeah, so the easiest place is my website, just toddnesloney.com. If you don't know how to spell it, that's great. Just go to Google, spell it however you think it's spelled, it'll come up. But that's where all my social media is, my YouTube, my books, my courses, everything that I offer, my blog is all in that spot. But I'm on every platform, whether it's Todd Nesloney or Tech Ninja Todd, I'm there.
Great. And finally, what words of inspiration do you have for our audience of educators and leaders out there?
I think the one message I try to always end anything that I do with is just this idea of this work is so hard. And I don't think we acknowledge enough how difficult it is for school leaders. I know it's hard for teachers. I know that have all this weight on them. And the spotlight is shined on that a lot. But I don't think we put it enough on what the administrators and leaders are going through. And they don't talk about it because they don't want to feel like they're complaining or anything like that. But it's a lot. And I think for anybody listening today, I would just want them to know that you're making a difference. And if you're in a position to impact others, you're exactly where you're meant to be in this moment in time. Though you may not know who you're even changing their life or how you're even impacting it, we don't always see the results right then. But I'm one of those people who believes that every single moment is a moment that was meant to happen. And even though I may not be where I want to be yet, I'm where I'm at now because I'm meant to be here right now to do great stuff that nobody else on this planet can do because I was placed here. And so I think for those listening, just know that how much you matter and how your work matters, and just keep going at it however you can. But know that you weren't meant to do this alone, and reach
Mm,
out to any of us to support or help you, because that is the only way I have survived in any of the careers that I've had, in any of the roles, is I've never tried to do it alone. I've always surrounded myself with people who will push me, challenge me, encourage me, and that has made all the difference.
I love it. I love it. Now, outside, I think Houston, other than New Orleans, maybe Manhattan, is the third best food city
Oh,
in the
I
world.
disagree.
Really?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. All right.
I
That's a bit
I
of a
love
dark
San
horse.
Antonio is by far my favorite Texas city. I
Wow.
love San Antonio, and
It is
I go there
beautiful.
just to eat.
It is
Wow. That
beautiful.
that is a dark horse statement. I like San Antonio too. I'm a sucker for the river walk. Is that what it is? I mean,
Yeah.
it never gets old. Wow. Okay, San Antonio, a better food city than Houston. All right, here we go. We're going to lead into this. Last question. You live or you're from the home of Bluebell ice cream. Is this correct?
He
Yep.
said, yeah.
All right. Best flavor, worst flavor,
Ooh.
most underrated flavor.
Okay, best flavor is a tie. They have an ice cream cone that I love. That's the flavor is called ice cream cone. But
Okay.
they just came out with a brand new flavor called pecan pie. And if you're somewhere where you call it pecan pie, you're wrong. It's pecan pie. But oh my God, like that flavor has blown my mind with
All
how
right.
good it is. So I think that's the best. I think the worst flavor, I don't like coffee flavored stuff. So anytime
Ah,
they do any coffee flavored thing, I'm like,
okay.
whatever.
Okay.
But the most underrated, and I'll probably get some hate for this, but homemade vanilla.
Homemade
Like
vanilla
that is the
strong.
original, and it's just
Strong.
vanilla ice cream. But Bluebell vanilla, I don't like any vanilla ice cream, but Bluebell vanilla ice cream, oh my gosh,
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh.
So I
There
would
we
say
go.
that's probably still just because it's so people are like it's basic. No, but Bluebell vanilla is different.
It's a reason why it's endured,
Yep.
right? The what
Yep.
about you, Worcester? Last question. What's your go-to ice cream flavor?
I don't know that I have a go-to. I like there's a great tiramisu flavored ice cream from Ben and Jerry's. I love it. You?
I'm a mint guy. I like mint. I like the chocolate chip mint. I like the mint stuff. Man, Tech Ninja Todd, the community connection. Finally, our universe was able to come
Finally.
together. Man, I love it. When I'm in Houston, you got to take me out. We got to
Yep.
get some Bluebell. I usually do some work in Spring Branch. I don't know where that is in
Yep.
relation to everything, but thank you so much, man, for being a gift to this profession.
Thank you.
You have you know, not vulnerable but available for so many leaders, and with your through your advocacy, your children's book, and through all the stuff that you do, man. We just need more experts out there like you helping out and positive, you know, promoting leadership and positiveness, promoting culture, because we're denigrating this profession way too much, and we need more
Yep.
cats like you. So Todd, thank you very much, man, for joining us on the community.
Oh, it's all